Hi guys, Claudia Boleyn here. Welcome to day 10 of the lockdown vlogs. I'm on a different camera. I'm on a very nice camera actually. It's a camera called the Canon G7X, which I got a while ago for vlogging, but then I found it too difficult to operate. But it went with my cousin to Morocco before the travel ban, and her photography has inspired me to start using it again. So I've played with the white balance. I don't know if I look too pale or not. I'm sure I do. I didn't like the yellow lighting in these, so I thought I'd play around with it, so I don't know if that's worked. Anyway, hello, I hope you're all doing well. Thank you for your well wishes yesterday. Very soon I think you're probably going to get bored of me posting I had a bad day today and having to be all like, oh, hope you get better soon. I promise, I'll get better again. I just go up and down all the time. It'll just be a normal thing, you know. The next time I post it, you'll just be like, oh, okay. I'm going to answer some of your questions, and I've got a call with my tutor, so I'm not going to be here for long because I need to get some stuff done so I can talk to him. See, just looking at this, I look so white. I look so incredibly white. Okay, so I'm actually going to go back to the day 8 questions, because yesterday I didn't really take questions or anything like that, although I did post a cover. Because I was feeling sad and I thought when I'm sad I should sing, so I did a miserable Lana Del Rey cover, which was fun. So I'm going to go straight in. A question from Phoebe Russell. Hi Claudia, I was wondering about how you found studying with the Open University, and if you ever feel like you missed out on much by not going away for uni at 18. I'm in a similar boat, as due to my poor mental health at the time I ended up staying at home and attending my local uni, and although I have great friends now, I know that it was the right call. I definitely struggled with thinking I was missing out on all the freedoms of living alone at first. I don't know, in some ways I think at the time I felt like I missed out, because I felt like you know how you see all your friends doing their first year and going to freshers and all that kind of thing. And then I kind of had a word with myself, because I've never actually been the sort of person who likes to go out and get drunk or go to parties. I don't drink. That's because of A, my medication, and also B, I just never have been a drinker anyway, because I just don't see the point of it. I don't like the idea of getting drunk and like not being aware of what you're doing and people being able to take advantage of you, and I just have enough highs and lows in my own mental illness riddled brain without adding alcohol to that mix. Like, I've been there, I've had those highs, you know, I know the highs, I know the lows. I don't need alcohol for that. I actually started to appreciate more being able to study at home, because I was able to see my grandparents more, which I wouldn't have been able to do. When Dan's away at uni, he doesn't see us so much, obviously. And I'm someone who's very close with my family, and I think I'd be quite sad if I couldn't see them, hence the the worry of this time now. I did start out by thinking I'd missed out, but then I just realised that everyone takes their own path in life. I mean, there's people who go to uni, people who don't go to uni, people who get apprenticeships, people who go to uni and drop out of uni, people who start an apprenticeship then decide they want to go to uni. There's all sorts of people. Everyone will find their way in the end. There's no like one way to do it. I think if you watch like sitcoms and TV and stuff, you know, they present it as like, oh, you know, the party fun life of the young uni student. It's great, but I don't think the reality is really that true. And actually, like, my friends who had that experience, a lot of the time I was hearing stuff from them saying, yeah, we all went out and there were just a load of creepy boys trying to touch us up when we were drunk. Yeah, so yeah, I'm kind of glad I didn't have that experience. I think the hardest thing about the Open Uni stuff is, I do think it's hard when you don't have that social life, because in some ways to do with your studies. When you're studying with the Open Uni, I think people underestimate when they say it's like, a lot of people don't take it seriously, the Open Uni, but I don't think they realise, and they're starting to realise now because of lockdown, the motivation it takes to make yourself study when it's just you. You haven't got friends doing the same thing. You haven't got people to check in with, so you've all got your deadlines at the same time. You know, you don't all arrange, oh, we'll go to the library together or we'll do this. It's all you, and you've got the world going on as normal around you. You've got family around you. You've got everything, noise and stuff happening and family dramas, and yet you have to just study and get it done, or you don't get your grades. That's how it is. So in some ways it's hard, you know, not having people around you and not being able to, like for assignment questions, not being able to check in with people like, am I getting this right? Like, is that what you're going for? You know, and people reminding you of deadlines. That stuff's quite hard. Although you can, with Open Uni in terms of the socialising side, there were Facebook groups for like the early years, so you could like talk to other students about the experience of being a student, although you weren't allowed to talk about your actual assignments, which to me was weird, because if you're a student at another uni, I'm sure you do talk to your friends about, what are you doing for your assignment? Am I doing it right? I mean, as for the freedom of living on your own, I mean, I couldn't do that because of my mental health. And I do feel sad about that sometimes, because I think, oh, if I didn't have these issues, I'd already be driving, I'd already be doing this, I'd already be doing that, I'd be living here, living there. But the thing is, you know, on Love Island they say it is what it is, everyone laughs at it, but I actually think that's very profound. I agree with it. I love the phrase, it is what it is. There's no point in thinking, oh, what if this and what if that, because that's not what happened, that's not who you are. You know, you're not living your life as a template by something you've seen on TV or something, a way that you think you should live your life. We all just have to live with the circumstances we have and try and work around that. Everyone has that. So I just tend to try and think of the positives of it. I know that I will be out there and doing those things I want to do. It will be later than I wanted it to be, and it will be later than other people my age, but you know, that's what I've got in life. You know, I just got to deal with it and think about all the ways in which I'm actually very lucky. Joe Carter says, have you ever read any of the books by Madeline Miller? She writes retellings of Greek mythology and I think you'd like them. I especially loved Song of Achilles, in which the relationship between Achilles and Patroclus, or Patroclus, is actually explored rather than them just being demoted to cousin status or similar, as seen in most adaptations of the Iliad. Joe, my friend, oh, okay, you've started me off, you've started me. Okay, so let me just show you some of my stuff. Actually, in fact, right here, this is what my mirror thing is resting on. Right, so this is the Siege and Fall of Troy. I went to see the Troy exhibition at the British Museum before quarantine happened. Right, they are literally just here. You can still see my body in the frame. Right, what have I got here? I've got the Iliad, fully annotated. What's this? Achilles and Hector, the Homeric hero. There's much more all around. I'm not going to get it all, but yes, to cut the long story short, yes, I have read the Song of Achilles. I am obsessed with the Iliad. I'm obsessed with Achilles, Patroclus, Andromache, Hector, Cassandra, Helen, Paris, all of it. I'm completely obsessed. I am writing something to do with that at the moment, which I'm working on and hoping to work on and maybe get published when I've finished this year of my uni stuff in the summer. So yes, I'm obsessed with it. I love the Song of Achilles. I think it's very good. It's still not how I would have written Achilles and Patroclus, but hey, I'm gonna write them, so you'll have to see how I write them. But yeah, I really did enjoy it, and I think it was very beautifully written, and I love that it focused on Patroclus. Do we pronounce it as a collective? I need to know. Patroclus or Patroclus? Okay, how do you pronounce it? Because I go usually Patroclus, but is it Patroclus? I don't know. And oh my lord, the cousins thing drives me absolutely insane. I cannot bear it. I mean, even my dad, bless my dad, he knew I was getting into the Iliad, and he was like, oh darling, have you seen the one with like Brad Pitt in it? And he was like, he knows what I look for in a film. He says, oh, I think you'll like it, although they made Achilles and Patroclus like cousins, and in real life, darling, they were I'm trying to do my dad's voice, they thought they were lovers, because they did that a lot in those days. So even dad's on it. Even dad knows. But yeah, and also, do you know what, something that I'm doing in my version as well, the thing I'm writing, which I can tell you more about when I'm further along with it, what they do to Menelaus, like in the new Troy Fall of a City adaptation. Oh my god, they're so mean to Menelaus. Like, Menelaus didn't do anything wrong. He's a good person. And Agamemnon, like, the way they write Agamemnon is really, like, I don't know. I've got my own ideas. Yes, I have read it. Sorry, I've read Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. It makes me cry. The most recent time I read it, I actually stopped 3/4 of the way through, not because I wasn't enjoying it, but because I didn't want to read the end and get really upset. I genuinely just left it. And just haven't gone back to it, and I'll probably start again from the start and just never read the end. Christian still says, have you watched Noughts and Crosses on the BBC? It's really good and based on the book by Mallory Blackman. I have been watching it. I watched the whole thing on iPlayer, in fact, and something that I don't understand is why on BBC oh no, the light's messing up my beautiful white balance that I sorted out. Oh wait, my battery's going. I'm just going to change cameras. I'll be back in a second. I'm very concerned that this is going to fall over. We're back to my iPad, friends. The lighting, I'm sure, has changed. But yeah, we're back to the iPad, the old one. Just the camera died. I saw that little flashing battery and I thought, not today, Satan, not today. So here we go. Right, so I was talking about Noughts and Crosses, wasn't I? I don't understand why the BBC did that thing, or why they ever do that thing, where they put all their episodes on iPlayer before they've aired, because surely they want bigger viewing figures. People are always saying, oh, the viewing figures are going down for different shows. Well, obviously, if you're putting them up on iPlayer, why not just put them on iPlayer as soon as it's aired? I don't get it. But yeah, I've been watching Noughts and Crosses. I never read the book, and it's one of those books I always meant to read, but I never did. Very much like the Hunger Games. I never read Hunger Games. The BBC adaptation, I think that... I'm going to be honest here. I'm going to be honest. I think, no disrespect here either. I think it was very good. I should start by saying I think it's very good. Mallory Blackman is brilliant. Really, really wonderful. Love what she's done. Obviously, it's different people who've taken this on. I think the premise and the styling and this idea of like the image and the aesthetic of the powerful like African empire, and the different ideas of the beauty norms, and the idea of Callum in the army, you know, having to have his hair in like a different way and changed up, just like how like natural black hair has to be changed in this society to be considered like respectable and like in certain jobs. So many things, the clothes they wore, just everything. Like all that stuff was absolutely brilliant. Oh no, not another lighting thing. Oh, this light. Do you know what? There we go, that's better. This video will be the death of me. Right. Is that better? That's better, I think. So, I thought it was very good. I thought that Patterson Joseph was absolutely phenomenal. Sean Dingwall was absolutely phenomenal. I wasn't a huge fan, I have to be honest, of Sephi and Callum, who they chose for this. I'm not saying they were bad in any way. I'm not someone who can judge on acting. I'm not an actor. I just didn't feel it, and I feel like that kind of let the show down because I didn't feel their chemistry. I don't know why that was. I wanted to really feel, oh, they're in love and I can like really root for them and everything, because the story's everything I love. It's like that idea of like the whole Romeo and Juliet, star-crossed, you know, societal forces are against them. It's exactly the sort of thing I love in my ships. But I just didn't feel it. I don't know if that show had the impact that it could have had. In my personal opinion, I feel like it could have been done better, but not in terms of the art and the aesthetic and the actual story, just in terms of kind of the chemistry between the leads. And I think because it all hinges on the chemistry between the leads, if that doesn't work for you, the show doesn't kind of work for you. I think I was having that problem as well, where I was more interested in every other character, and I mean that, every other character, than Callum and Sephi. It was one of those stories where I feel like I'm stuck watching the characters that I don't really care about, and I want to know about Jude's life, and I want to know about Sephi's sister, and I want to know about Sephi's mother and her father, and I want to know about Callum's mother and father. There's so much like the resistance leader. I want to know about him, you know. I want to really examine his point of view versus Sephi's dad's point of view. And yet so much of the time it was just Callum and Sephi, and I was just, please, I don't care. No, I don't care about Callum and Sephi, come on. Let's move it on. Lauren Alex Hooper asked, I was wondering if you don't mind talking about it, how have you coped with the idea that your life won't be like all of your friends because of your BPD? Coming from someone with BPD and other problems who is struggling with this. I don't know if I've like come to terms with it, like, oh no, I have a post-it note on my webcam thing, because I saw, well, someone told me that Mark Zuckerberg has one on his, and I thought, he knows something, I'm I'm going to be ahead of the game here. But yeah, I don't think I've come to terms with it. I feel like it's a process still. It's still hard every day, because I still every day think of stuff like, oh, this is something I could do if I didn't have it. And I think the thing that's easier is I no longer feel guilt, because I before I used to think, oh, I can't do this because I'm lazy or I'm lesser or something like that. Now I know it's because of the illness, and it's something that wasn't my fault that I have it, but it's something that I have, and I have to take it into account. And I think actually, legitimately, knowing now that it is a disability and thinking about it that way, I don't beat myself up about it so much, because I know that it's just a struggle that I have, and everyone in their lives will have different sorts of struggles. I think it's hard because, like for example, my best friend Chloe is living and working in London. My other close friend Fee is living around here actually, but she's working in London. She wants to move to London. and they're very successful. I've got a friend who's doing a PhD and she's in Ireland, and I've got a friend who's like travelling the world, and last I knew she was in Australia, she was in India for a while. She's been all over the place. I've got a cousin who goes travelling on her own. She's incredible. She just saves up some money, goes off solo travelling. It's incredible. But essentially, everyone has their own struggles and their own hurdles in life. And for some people these things will come later in life. We never know when they're going to come. And we all have different things to deal with. We don't really know what other people are going through. So I don't tend to compare myself to others very often. I just think it's unhealthy to compare yourself, because even without the BPD, we would all be living very different lives and have very different experiences, and there's nothing that we could really do about that. It's just, in some ways, it's just luck. I think once I did that grieving in that morning, which sounds dramatic, but you do have that period of, once you come to terms with everything with mental illness and you realise that it's a real thing that you have and you're dealing with, first of all there's the relief, because you realise that there's not something wrong with you in terms of like you're not a lazy or bad person, it is an illness you have. So at first it's a relief. But then you go through that kind of grief period, that mourning period, where you mourn for the person you could have been, for the lost years, for the fact that you lived in a time where maybe there wasn't as much awareness as there could be, there wasn't as much support, so you may have been worse than you could have been. You know, things are a bit worse than they could have been because we didn't have that support. Thankfully it is getting better and better and better now. I think you grieve for the person or the people that you could have been, the different opportunities you might have had. But you just have to, again, it's that it is what it is phrase. I really do think about that a lot. It is what it is. We have what we have. We have our life right now. We can only focus on, okay, so this is what I can do, this is what I'm able to do, this is what I'm not able to do. With these ingredients I have in front of me, what can I make? What's the best I can make of that? That's how I tend to think about it. And also I think you've got to think, with something like BPD, there's so many drawbacks. I know how incredibly difficult it is. But also think about it in terms of, I don't know if you're a creative person or not. I personally, and the other people I've spoken to, some of them from the therapy programme, sometimes you have to think about in what ways do you have an advantage as well. And I truly do think that we have access to these emotional like stores that other people might not have. Now for me, I can use that in my writing and in my poetry and in my art. And I do get intensely creative. I use the high moods. So I kind of, it's like wind power, you know? It's like you have to kind of use the elements, like use what you have and just kind of make the best of it and use it as a bit of like a superpower. I mean, when I was watching Vincent the Doctor the other night, something that I like about that is that the idea that, yeah, he like suffered a lot, but his illness also, it made him see things very differently. And again, I don't want to promote the idea that, oh, it's a good thing to have it because it makes you more creative, because actually, obviously, if people like Vincent van Gogh had been treated and they'd had modern medicine, he probably, medicine and therapy, he probably would have painted more and been happier, and he still would have, you know, there'd be so many more artworks and he probably wouldn't have died. But it does give you a different outlook, and that is something that you can use, and I think it gives you more empathy for people. I think it makes you know that feeling of feeling worthless and feeling like an outsider. So I think it can help you, especially with young people, not allow them to feel like that and have that extra sort of emotional awareness. Your life doesn't need to be like your friends who don't have BPD. It's your life, it's your experience. You're going to have struggles that no one else has. And that's okay, that's the same for everyone. So BPD or not, don't compare yourself to your friends. Just don't even think about it like that. You can't even afford to think about it like that. If we all thought like that, then, you know, we'd all be just so sad all the time, because we'd be looking at our friends' lives and, oh, they look so good. And remember, what you see of people's lives is usually, unless they're someone like me who overshares the bad parts, usually you're seeing the good edited parts on social media. So you're not really, that's not the reality of the lives they're living. I'm going to go now, but I've just seen a comment from Elliot Crosse saying, yeah, I agree, Angela Webber is Tory scum. Oh god, you guys do crack me up. Right, I will answer some more tomorrow. I'm practicing the solo songs from 6 to do some karaoke to. And I'm off to talk to my tutor. What's the time? Oh my lord, I haven't got much time now. I was supposed to have prepared more for this. Alright, I love you and I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, love you, bye.